Hello, everyone. Welcome to SeniorOpedia, the everything how-to guide for seniors and caregivers. I'm Viraf Balawala, your host for today's episode. And today I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm actually going to get one of our fans who happens to have a burning question, and I'm going to bring them on the line. And then afterwards, we're going to go out and seek the advice of a specialist that can help answer that. So I'm introducing here Angelo Del Luca. Hello, Angelo. How are you doing?
I'm awesome, Viraf. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to spend some time with you.
Oh, well, Angelo, you and I have known each other for a while now. And when we talked about this podcast that we were doing, you actually came up with a burning question. And so, why don't I let you take the helm here and just express what your concerns are now that you are in this stage of life?
And actually, it's really relevant because in the introduction, you mentioned the two facets, right? And that's the senior and the caregiver. And actually, I'm both a senior and a caregiver. I'm a caregiver to my brother who has some health challenges that I assist on a daily basis.
Hmm.
And I am, contrary to this wonderful image of me, I am a senior. And I did a retirement a while ago. And I
Right.
had some burning questions. I was going, I would say, almost 24/7 during my working life. And then I'm faced with a dilemma. And my dilemma is, what do I do in retirement? How do I
Hmm.
maintain my current financial positioning? Do I downsize? Do I get employment of some fashion, some gig job? Uh, and how do I enrich every day that I get up and make every day a new journey to stress-free living?
Mm. Well, those are all extremely important questions. I think that they are burning questions for many people, certainly as they approach retirement, but also as they enter retirement and now find themselves not being busy, not having their routine that they were used to. There's a lot of examples out there where people kind of lose their momentum, lose their mojo after, that retirement takes place because they still don't have that. They don't have that purpose anymore that they used to have. You get up in the morning, there's certain things are expected of you, know what you have to get done, etc. And then, of course, the bigger issue for everybody there is, okay, I no longer have that income stream coming in. And
Exactly.
so, how do I maintain that standard of living? Or what do I have to sacrifice in order to maintain a reasonable standard of living? Because, as we get older, we are going to have to give up certain things in order to keep the more important things.
Absolutely. And in fact, the philosophy has always been, oh, you retire, so then you have less expenses, you spend less money, you save more. The reality is it's the exact opposite. I'm with more time, there are more opportunities to actually spend money, and you
Mhm.
get into this cycle of uh, I've got groceries to buy at the end of the week. Do I have enough in my wallet to ensure that I'm eating properly, maintain my health status, and continue on? And I found that that has been a bit of a challenge, right?
And it's not just you. I mean, I know you're married, and
Yes,
so in some families, they are, I guess, husband and spouse are now perhaps both retired or whatever, but now you have to accommodate for two people. You have to have two people surviving and maintaining certain standards and whatnot, and you don't want to have to give it all up because of the fact that there's because we've gotten older, we don't have that same income stream coming in. And the other day I was at a place and they talked about a lot of the people that don't have a lot. And so they face, isolation and, they're living on a fixed pension. And so therefore, as costs are rising for everything, it makes it that much harder even because everybody's in a different, financial position, right?
And also, when you're working full time, you
Hmm.
actually develop a fairly large circle of, we call them colleagues, but in reality, they're friends and family because
Sure, of course.
a lot of times you see them more often than your actual family, right? Because
Right.
you're all helping each other out to achieve a common goal. And
Right.
so, how do you maintain connections also in retired life so that you have those personal engagements and interconnections? Because that goes to that state of mind. We not only want to have the financial capacity to maintain a current lifestyle that we're used to, but we also
Hmm.
want it to be engaging and
Sure.
psychologically really enriched.
Okay. Well, Angela, listen, there's a tremendous amount of questions there, in fact, just in that little bit. We got financial, and then we've got the mental health, then you've got
Yeah.
the social aspect. And so what I'm going to do at this stage is I'm going to find you some of those answers, maybe not all in one interview, but I'm going to find you at least one of those answers and then get back to you with this. Okay. So I want you to hang in tight here. And I'm going to bring on a specialist, another guest who is going to try to address these issues and hopefully at least get some of those burning questions answered. All righty? So, Angela, just hang on a second. I've got somebody else on the line here. I've got Will Rogers from Ameriprise Financial. He's a certified financial planner in business for about 35 years, has hundreds of clients, and he specializes in the seniors market. So he knows exactly what you're talking about, what kind of things that you're running into. So, Will, hi. Let me bring you on here.
Yeah. Hi, Varef. Good to see you again. I've been in business many years, known you for several decades. So happy to help Angelo and other folks that you reach out and touch.
So, as you know, Angelo, you've listened to his concerns and burning questions. Do you have any sort of direction, or I'm sure you've probably experienced this through other clients of yours as well, the same questions?
No, very much seen similar questions, similar situations. And forgive me, Angelo, I don't know enough about you to give specific advice for you, but I am going to address a lot of the topics you have that I hope will still give you actionable insight and ways that you can live with confidence.
Great. So, where do you want to start?
Well, first off, I like to start a little bit before where Angelo's at, where as you're getting ready to retire, there's a framework that I've been using that works so well, and I encourage folks to look at it. And it's breaking your retirement into four key areas. Now, the foundation of that is your essential expenses, and you want to have reliable income that's going to cover those essential expenses no matter what's going on. So, be that from pensions or guaranteed sources of income, very stable stuff. This is the conservative piece.
Right.
The second portion of the portfolio is for the fun stuff. And this may be invested for higher returns, and it might be the cruises, it might be the extra things in life, maybe an extra boat or what have you. But it's stuff that you can delay, or heaven forbid, you really could live without as long as you got your essentials covered.
Okay.
If you've got your essentials and then the fun stuff covered, most of my clients do worry about that rainy day. Angelo's taking care of his brother. What if you needed care more than you or your spouse or family can provide? Do you have a plan to take care of that? And that plan does not equate to a long term care policy. It might be a part of it, but who's going to provide your care? Do they have the legal power to make medical decisions on your behalf? Have you expressed your wishes to them? So, do you have a plan and then resources to kick in the event of the unexpected? And then finally, the big one, which also ties into having purpose and meaning in life, is what kind of legacy do you want to leave? What kind of impact do you want to make in this world? And making sure you're making your gifts in alignment with that today, but then you also have your wills and beneficiary designations updated so that in the event of your death, your money goes where you want it to go rather than going to the government or attorneys or other places.
This is all
Of
before the retirement. This is all kind of planning for retirement. Is that right?
Yes, yes, that is how we help our clients live a confident retirement. So when you're there, we make sure you've got money for your everyday expenses, the fun stuff. If the unexpected happens, you've got a parachute, and then taking care of those that you love. So if you go in with that framework, that will prevent you from being in situations where you're like, oh mercy, now I gotta figure out something to do because I don't have enough to go to the grocery store. That's what we try to prevent, and how we want to have our folks just live a confident life.
Hmm. Okay. And so now you've got that planning done. You've gone through, you've pulled the trigger, you're now retired. You're waking up every day saying, okay, what do I do today? How and I don't have that paycheck coming in again. So how would you in general provide direction to your clients?
As you're looking at your expenses, one of the biggest things that I encourage people to do is to make sure the places they're spending their money bring value. And there's some obvious things that folks might be able to cut back on. It might be travel, or there might have been online subscriptions where they've got movies and stuff that they don't need as much. The black holes of the budget tend to be the stores, and I can't name them by name, but there are certain places that you can just go online and you can buy everything from food for your dog, food for yourself, yard tools, games for your grandkids, anything, and it just shows up on this one bill, and it cloudies up the budget. You're not knowing how much you're spending on your essentials versus those extra things that perhaps you do not need. So being very intentional about spending is the very first thing that I have.
Mm-hmm.
The second part is looking at expenses that might possibly be delayed. One of the things that is a big expense for many of my clients is their car. And instead of getting a replacement car as frequently, if cash flow were to be tight, it may be appropriate to suggest let's delay that purchase. Yes, we may put some money into repairs for that car, but delaying a few years can help. If you've got a travel experience that you're looking forward to, but if cash flow's tight, delaying that travel experience. So delaying expenses. So that's the cost side. There's another series of costs that I encourage folks to get ahead of, and that's with income taxes. Most retired clients still have to pay income taxes, and many of them are forced to pay taxes on required distributions and other monies that they're required to take whether they need it or not.
Hmm.
If they can plan the taxes, and often bundling or leapfrogging, where you might take a lot of expenses in one year and then have very little in the following year, may make their Social Security to be taxed less, if at all. They may be able to bundle their itemized deductions or charitable giving where otherwise they would not. So the second thing is looking at your tax strategies to make sure the taxes that you have to pay are the lowest possible.
Now, would you be dealing with your accountant for that, or would you be dealing with the financial planner? Who would be best
It
for you?
sh- it should be both. Historically, accountants are historians looking at what has happened and putting the best picture on it that's there, but they're going to know your situation as well as anybody else. Financial advisors, they're the forecasters, the prognosticators, what's going to happen that's coming up. And if you've got a financial advisor that can give you good tax strategies, that is a valuable financial advisor. Many are not allowed to go into the tax area. Some of us are. And if you can simply identify a good path that lowers the taxes, that just freed up money. Instead of it going to the government, that's money that can go to the grocery store, stay in your wallet. So having that proactive tax strategy is so important.
Did I hear you correctly
The
that you want to, in one year, maybe take out more and then the next year take out less? So that way, I guess you can do some carry forward sort of things. Was that,
Uh,
or did I misunderstand?
it's the more or the less for some folks. And again, talk to your accountant to make sure it makes sense for you. But in the lower income brackets, there's a threshold where the Social Security is often not taxable at all.
Mhm.
But it's what's called the cliff tax, where if you're $1 over that limit, then your Social Security ends up being taxed, and your Medicare premiums at a different level might be taxed.
Right.
So if say you're normally right above that level and you're always kind of stuck in there paying taxes on Social Security, maybe paying extra Medicare premiums,
Right.
whatever it is, if one year you just take extra because you're kind of in that land anyways,
Mhm.
but then the next year you don't take that income, you take the extra income, put it in the bank, use that for money the next year, then it's very plausible that you might pay no taxes on Social Security. You may lower your Medicare premiums. You
Right.
need to look at where you're at, know your tax bracket, but by being proactive with that, yes, that's where bundling can help on the income side. And then the flip side of that is with deductions. Most Americans will have a standard deduction of around $33,000 when they're retired, if married couple.
Mhm.
And if you've got, for the sake of discussion, $35,000 of itemized deductions, well, in reality, only $2,000 of that's helping you. The other 33, that's just the standard deduction anyways.
Right. Now,
So
does this
if
advice
you did
apply?
all, yeah,
Does this apply both to Canada and US, or is that primarily just US?
this is primarily United States, where I do not practice in Canada, so I would love to share insights. I've driven through Canada. I've been there many times. I've visited your home of
In my house.
Toronto and loved it, but been in your house and enjoyed it very much. And so I love the land. I cannot sing other than the opening two words of your national anthem, and I know even less about your tax code. So I just just want to be clear.
Well, just you use the Social Security, et cetera, and I think a lot of the principles that you were talking about actually do apply here as well. So although we don't have the specific, numbers or deductions or whatever else that you guys have down in the States, we actually have something very similar here in many areas.
I know what I'm good at, and I don't want to pretend to be any more than I'm not.
Sure.
But the third area is getting extra earnings. And so, what can you do to get your money working harder for you? And that's another opportunity depending on where clients are at.
So talk about that a little bit. How do you get your money working harder? There's two parts of the money. One is what you've already got saved up, and the other is what you potentially could have if you're, say, working part-time. What are your thoughts on that?
Correct. And starting with the money that you have saved up, you really want to take a look at first, what is your risk tolerance and what is an appropriate asset allocation for that risk tolerance? So if you're conservative, okay, be conservative. If you're aggressive, be aggressive. Don't change your risk tolerance just to chase returns, because that can often bite you later on. But look where your risk tolerance is, but then make sure you're allocated appropriately for that. If you're moderate, but all your money's sitting in cash, well, no, that's not a good allocation. And even if you do have a lot of money sitting in cash, you can get yields very competitive, above 4% by shopping around. So if your money's just sitting in a zero interest or a very low interest checking account or savings account, take the time to look to see what options are there to get higher yields. Or, as I said, if it makes sense to invest in alignment with your risk tolerance, get that money working for you.
Okay, getting it working for you. Okay. Now, would you say something like, let's say, for example, you've got a lot of equity in your home. Yeah, you're living there, but you can't really use it. Would a good strategy be to potentially do a reverse mortgage and then take the funds that you get and then apply them to some more interest-bearing passive income streams? Would that be a good strategy?
There's risks with that. And so, understand that the real risk with that is you could lose your home. And the equity that you have in the home could be gone. So as you're looking at that, if there's nobody else that you want the home to go to, and you'd be
Mhm.
able to cover the property taxes, the maintenance, and all the other requirements, then that could be an option to have it where you're covering the expenses that you have with some of that money and leaving what's in your portfolio to actually earn a higher rate. So instead of having to cash out the portfolio, use the reverse mortgage for your living expenses and allow your portfolio to grow and work for you.
Oh, okay. All right. So kind of the
But you got
opposite
it.
of what I think,
Yeah,
but ultimately resulting in the same thing. Because there are some, lower
get
risk type of investments that you can make, right? Like lending money out on real estate deals and things like that. You can make 10, 15% of a return on that, and your money is working for you, and somebody else is doing all the work.
well, it's there, and here's what I've seen with all of that is all of these returns are there until they're not. And so as you're looking at some of the private placement opportunities or real estate opportunities, if if you think you found something that will solve all your problems overnight, talk to somebody else about it and just vet it to make sure that you're not being taken advantage of. But getting that money working harder for you and looking for those opportunities that you've got in your backyard can often give you the chance to get higher earnings on your portfolio. Yeah.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And then, so I've got a friend who's retired, and just to kind of keep himself busy, he ended up getting a part-time job, and he works maybe 2 days a week in a retail store. And so he's got a little bit more cash flow coming in. So he's not totally dependent on his, pension or savings, whatever he's got left. So what do you tell people about that?
I am a very strong advocate of employment in retirement through your 70s. My happiest, healthiest clients have found some type of employment, and it's rarely their normal day job that they had, that they retired, but they found something that just speaks to their heart, or they're with people that they enjoy, and they're having a good time with people that are reliable, and they're getting something done. They're using their unique skills and talents to improve the world. And oh, by the way, they get a little bit of money on the side. Uh,
Mhm.
Angela was talking about very beautifully the camaraderie and the relationships that you have. And when you're with these people, you're often with them more than family. If they're people you want to be with, that can be a really good thing. And so finding that, and he'd also mentioned when retiring, you got all the spare time and it's very easy to spend money. Work is cheap entertainment. If it's something that you love doing, work is cheap entertainment.
I had a retail grocery client
So
years
yes, I,
ago.
I
Everybody in their senior management was retiring all around the same time, and they all ended up getting jobs at the local golf club, right? So there'd be marshals or whatever it is. So that way they could play for
yeah.
free, drive around in the carts, and just had a heck of a time. That's the way we should retire.
Yes.
So
And they're
Will,
getting out there engaging with people.
exactly what Angelo you were saying with regards to their colleagues, and do you want to what do you want to sacrifice there as far as time with them and things like that as well. So this gives you an opportunity to do a little both, right? They get a little bit of money coming in because they're doing this part-time stuff. They're doing what they enjoy, in this case, playing golf or whatever it was, and they're still hanging out. So what a great way to be. So Will, thank you very much for being here and providing Angelo with some very valuable advice. So, Angelo, what did you think of Will's advice?
I really loved the feedback and the
Mhm.
confirmation of my thoughts. And so I took stock of all of the activities that I'm involved in that does occupy a lot of my time. And even though I enjoy them, I need to put everything into perspective. So I've been
True.
starting to take actions on those elements, not get rid of my mentoring slash volunteering, but be more selective where I
Okay.
can actually bring value. It's important to take a look at not only is it something that I enjoy doing, but I delivering on what they would like to accomplish. And
Right.
so that actually is refreshing, I think. And that was a direct result of the feedback. that I gained from our discussions.
So, what were your key takeaways from this?
So be selective, ensure that the activities that occupy my time are actually valuable to everyone involved, right? And focus on my health, because if I put too much on my plate and my health starts to suffer, I actually can't accomplish a lot of those wonderful things that I want to bring to the table. So that is a real sanity check. And it's a tough pill to swallow at times, right? We all
Yeah.
have this feeling that we're invincible, but guess what? We're not. And I want to avoid that whole dilemma of, oh, Angelo, everyone wants to meet with you, connect with you, but if I bite the bullet tomorrow, guess what happens 24 hours after I bite the bullet? They'll say, Angelo, who? Life moves on, right? I want to ensure that I create a legacy where if I do bite the bullet, they all say, yeah, I really miss
I
Angelo.
remember that guy.
Yeah, I remember that guy.
Yeah. Well, Angelo, thank you very much for participating in this, sharing those burning questions that you had. I think we answered a certain number of them, maybe not
Yes,
all of them, but the key is to ask. And so if any of you have any questions that you have burning on your plate and would like answers to, please visit our website at SeniorOpedia.com. And all you have to do is submit your topic request, and we'll do what we can to get the answers.
I can
Thank you,
attest.
Angelo.
It's amazing. Thank you so much for
All
the
right.
opportunity and the pleasure.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
If you like this episode, then subscribe, like, share, and most importantly, register for upcoming notifications at SeniorOpedia.com.